You'd think a trash can is just a trash can, nothing more, nothing less. But for my neighbor, Karen, it was apparently a symbol of her power. She lived for the HOA rules, always strutting around the neighborhood with her clipboard, measuring grass length, inspecting fences, and leaving snarky notes taped to doors. At first, I thought I could stay out of her way. I kept my lawn tidy, paid my dues, and minded my own business. But Karen always found something to nitpick. Her new obsession, my trash can. It started small. One Tuesday morning, I noticed my trash can tipped over in the driveway. I assumed it was the wind. But then it happened again and again, always on the days after pickup, always upright in the evening, and mysteriously knocked over by morning. I decided to test my theory. The next week, I set up a cheap little camera in my window facing the driveway. Sure enough, right after her evening walk, there she was. Karen, in her HOA polo shirt, casually strolling up and nudging my trash can until it toppled over. She even smirked as she walked away. I couldn't believe it. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. She wanted me to feel small, to make me bend to her unspoken authority. The next day, she had the nerve to stop me at the mailbox. "You know," she said, crossing her arms, "leaving your trash can out like that makes the neighborhood look messy. You really ought to do better." I clenched my jaw, but forced a smile. Funny, I thought the wind was knocking it over. She tilted her head with that fake patronizing smile. Yes, the wind. Then she walked away, as if she'd already won. That's when I realized something important. Karen thrived on people ignoring her antics. The more powerless you acted, the more powerful she felt. But I wasn't powerless, not anymore. As I picked up my trash can that night, I started to hatch a plan. Something she wouldn't see coming. Something that would make her think twice before touching my property ever again. This was no longer just about a trash can. It was about standing up to a bully, HOA badge or not. And I was ready to fight back. I spent the next few days brainstorming. I could have confronted Karen directly, but I knew that wouldn't work. People like her thrived on arguments. They loved attention and always twisted the story to make themselves the victim. If I accused her, she'd just run to the HOA board, slap me with some violation notice, and make my life miserable. No, I needed something smarter. Something that didn't just stop her from knocking over my trash can, but also made her think twice before messing with me again. That's when the idea struck me. Why not let the trash can fight back? I started researching harmless but effective deterrents. My first thought was a simple alarm that would go off the moment the can was tipped, but that felt too subtle. Karen needed something more dramatic, something she couldn't brush off. Then I stumbled across a motion sensor sprinkler system. The moment someone got close, it would unleash a high-powered stream of water. Perfect. I ordered the system online and set it up in secret. The nozzle was positioned right where Karen usually stood when she pushed the can. From the street, it looked like nothing more than a regular trash bin. But now it was armed and ready. The hardest part was waiting. Days passed, and I kept my routine normal. Trash out on collection day. Can sitting neatly by the driveway. I even waved at Karen when she walked by, pretending everything was fine. Inside, though, I was buzzing with anticipation. Finally, the night came. Through the blinds, I spotted her familiar silhouette heading down the sidewalk. Clipboard in hand, HOA polo tucked into her jeans. She was making her rounds. My heart started racing as she slowed near my driveway. There it was, that smug little smirk. She reached out, hand brushing against the edge of my can, ready to tip it over like she always did. But this time, things were different. With a hiss, the sprinkler system activated, blasting her full in the face and chest with a stream of icy water. She shrieked, stumbling backward, waving her arms as if she'd just been attacked by a fire hose. I had to slap a hand over my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. Through the blinds, I saw her drenched hair plastered against her face, her clipboard ruined, and her eyes wide with disbelief. She hadn't seen it coming. And the best part? The camera I'd set up caught everything. For a glorious 2 days, Karen avoided my house like the plague. Every time she walked her evening rounds, she crossed the street before reaching my driveway. I thought maybe, just maybe, she'd finally gotten the message. But I underestimated Karen. On the third evening, there was a sharp knock at my door. When I opened it, there she stood, hair perfectly curled again, lips pressed into a thin line, clutching a folder stuffed with papers. "We need to talk," she said curtly, pushing her way halfway onto my porch without waiting for an invitation. I leaned against the doorframe, trying to look calm. "About what?" "My trash can." Her eyes narrowed. "Don't play dumb. I know what you did. That little water trap? Harassment, property endangerment. I could have slipped and sued you." I almost laughed, but bit it back. "Well, you wouldn't have been sprayed if you weren't pushing over my trash can in the first place." She flushed red. "That's not the point. The HOA board will hear about this. You violated at least 3 neighborhood codes, and I'll make sure you're fined heavily." I smiled slowly. "Funny, because I have video evidence of you trespassing on my property repeatedly, knocking over my trash can. Harassment goes both ways, doesn't it?" Her mouth fell open, and for once, she had no snappy comeback. She huffed, snatched the folder tighter to her chest, and stormed off. But I knew this wasn't over. Karen wasn't the type to lick her wounds quietly. Sure enough, the very next week, I received a notice in the mail. An official HOA complaint claiming my trash can violated neighborhood standards. Too visible, too close to the street, improperly stored. It was absurd, of course, but clearly her way of getting revenge. I wasn't worried though, because while she was busy filing fake complaints, I had something much stronger. Footage of her petty antics, including the sprinkler incident, and I wasn't afraid to use it. As I folded the letter and set it aside, I couldn't help but grin. Karen thought she had the upper hand again, but she had no idea what was coming next. Because I had a plan. Not just to defend myself, but to finally put her in her place, once and for all. And this time, it wouldn't just be a splash of water. Karen's complaint was laughable, but I knew the HOA board well enough to understand one thing. Paperwork, no matter how ridiculous, could still cause headaches. Karen thrived on that. If she could bury me under enough violations, she thought she'd win by sheer persistence. But she made one crucial mistake. She underestimated how prepared I was. I gathered everything. Video clips of her knocking over my trash can, screenshots of her walking onto my property uninvited, and of course the crown jewel, the footage of her being blasted head to toe by my sprinkler trap. The next HOA meeting was in a week, and I marked it on my calendar like it was game day. When I walked into the community hall, Karen was already there, sitting smugly at the front with her stack of papers. She shot me a look like she'd already won. "Good evening," she said sweetly. as if we were old friends. The meeting started, and sure enough, Karen launched into her tirade. This homeowner repeatedly violates trash storage rules. It lowers property values and sets a bad example for the neighborhood, the board members murmured, some nodding, until I raised my hand. If I may respond, I said calmly. I connected my laptop to the projector. The first clip played. Karen under the cover of night, tipping over my trash can with a satisfied smirk. Gasps rippled through the room. The second clip, her doing it again and again. Finally, the pièce de résistance, the sprinkler scene. The moment she shoved the bin, the water hit her square in the chest, knocking the clipboard from her hands. The room erupted in laughter. Even the usually stone-faced board president cracked a smile. Karen's face turned crimson. She fumbled for words. That's taken out of context. I folded my arms. The only context here is trespassing and harassment. If anyone is lowering the neighborhood's reputation, it isn't me. The board president cleared his throat. I think we've seen enough. The complaint is dismissed. And Karen, consider this a warning. HOA rules don't give you the right to harass neighbors. Karen sank into her chair, humiliated, while I sat back with quiet satisfaction. For the first time, the balance of power had shifted. But I knew her well enough to realize Karen wouldn't forgive or forget. She wasn't done yet. What she didn't know, though, was neither was I. After the HOA meeting fiasco, Karen vanished from my radar for a while. No late-night strolls past my driveway. No passive-aggressive comments at the mailbox. No fake violation slips taped to my door. It was almost peaceful. Almost too peaceful. I knew Karen wasn't the type to lick her wounds quietly. She was plotting. She always plotted. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, I caught her outside my house again. This time, she wasn't alone. She had dragged another HOA board member with her, clearly hoping to stage some kind of inspection. Clipboard in hand, she pointed toward my trash can with exaggerated gestures, her voice carrying across the yard. And you see, this homeowner's trash is a constant problem. It violates code section. I didn't let her finish. I stepped outside with a calm smile and my phone already recording. Evening, Karen. Care to repeat that for the camera? Her face went pale. The board member shifted uncomfortably, realizing what was happening. Karen, maybe this isn't... But she doubled down. You can't record me without permission. I chuckled. Actually, I can. Public property, my yard, and harassment caught on film. In fact, the HOA already dismissed your complaints once. Do you really want to push this further? The board member raised his hands. I've seen enough. This isn't a violation. Sorry for the trouble. And with that, he walked off, leaving Karen standing alone on my lawn, red-faced and sputtering. I lowered my phone, but kept my eyes on her. Karen, listen closely. This ends now. You mess with me again. I'll take every video, every piece of evidence, and make sure the entire neighborhood sees what kind of person you really are. For the first time since this whole mess began, she didn't argue. She just glared, muttered something under her breath, and stormed off. From that day on, my trash can remained untouched. No more midnight tipping, no more fake complaints. She still strutted around the neighborhood with her clipboard, but when she passed my driveway, she never looked my way. And me? I didn't just win the petty war. I sent a clear message. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just fighting back. It's showing a bully that their games won't work anymore. Karen thought she was the queen of the HOA. But after that, she learned the hard way. I wasn't the neighbor to mess with. Thank you so much for watching this story till the end. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe even learned something from it. If you'd like to hear more stories like this, full of life lessons, drama, and emotions, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you'll never miss an update. Your support means the world, and it helps me keep bringing you more inspiring and unforgettable stories. Stay tuned because more amazing stories are on the way.